Hi, Katy. Thanks for joining us on the podcast today. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I am so excited to have you. It's been so fun to dive into the back end of a lot of what you shared on our intake form about your business. So, before we start diving in and start strategizing about how we can accomplish the goals that you have for your business, would
hmm
you just start by kicking off and telling our audience a little bit about who you are and what your business is?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my name is Katy. I am married to my husband of 9 years, and we've got three little kids. Just turned 5 yesterday, just turned 3, and a 6-month-old. So busy. And I run a food
Yes.
blog called My Daily Delish. And that's been a total joy just because I can do it while I'm with my kids at home. A lot of work I started last year in March. So it was kind of right when the world kind of stopped. I started up my food blog. So it's been fun timing and tricky timing. I feel like there's been benefits and, you know, it is what it is, but it's been really fun to just curate recipes and share them with people and yeah, put it out into the world.
Love it. And so 1 year in, you're having some pretty large success. You're getting a lot of traffic to your site. People are really loving it. They're eating it up, if you will. And so the goals for us today, then, and what I was taking away are really diving into how we maximize some of these things that you're currently doing to monetize the blog
hmm
and what you're doing, and then also
Yeah.
focus on time management. Would you say that those are the couple most important things that you're
Yeah, absolutely.
working
Yep.
with
You
right
nailed
now?
them.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. So let's start with time management. Um, Tell me a little bit about how you currently set up your time to work on the blog now. Is it intentional? You schedule it ahead of time? Is it kind of just you fit it in where you can? Tell me a little bit
hmm
about your process there.
Yeah, great question. It is super fluid. I think with having such young kids who are all at home all day long, even if I wanted to schedule things, it seems like it's just not possible just because each day is so, it just goes, right? Time just goes. So I
Mm-hmm.
have goals in mind of how much I post per month. I wouldn't say I'm hitting my goals by any means, but it is tricky just because I do have to fit it into my normal life, but then I also have to worry about, the lighting. I have to cook early enough in the day so I can take beautiful photos, when I have daylight, and we live in Washington and it's dark. And
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, and I am naturally a bit of a procrastinator, and this blog has been awesome for me because I've had to just not. I've literally had to say, nope, we don't have that option. We cannot procrastinate. We have to do this thing. Um, so it's been really good for me personally in that way, but still, I wouldn't say I'm putting up as much content as I would like to. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. And one thing that we didn't talk about yet is that you have a cookbook that's going to come out.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm working on that, and that's again the kind of procrastination side. It feels like a big timeline. The cookbook is coming out in November. Um, so it feels like I've got all the time in the world to work on it, but I really don't. So
Mm-hmm.
that's when the kids go to bed, I can hop on my computer and start typing out recipes and working through that. So the cookbook,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I would say, this is a really specific industry that I'm in, but trying to put out content on the blog while also working so hard on the cookbook, which has to be finished on a certain timeline, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
how do I give my best to all of these areas of my
Mm-hmm.
of my job, yeah,
Right.
while
Yeah.
still being a mom.
Right. Yes.
hmm
So we have time that we need to set aside to work on the business, right? As far as planning, and that would be both in preparation for what you're going to post or what you're going to cook, and then for the cookbook, and then
hmm
also in the business, which is actually physically doing the thing, making it,
Yes,
photographing it, putting it up, and like all of that, right?
exactly. Yep.
Um, so so you would say that you spend the most amount of your time after the kids go to bed? Is that kind of when you work on everything the most, or just the cookbook?
I would say cookbook is mostly once the kiddos are in bed, and whenever I'm
Okay.
working on blog posts, that's during the day when the kids are just kind of running around.
Okay. And do
Yep.
you try to get it all done in one day, meaning you cook, take photos, upload, all of that? Is that kind of your
I would
flow
say
or expectation of yourself?
Yeah, within 2 days. It's usually cook and photograph, and then work on the actual the blog post the next morning is usually what it is. And each
Excellent.
recipe, I test them a couple times, so I have to cook it a few times before I get it. I want to
Yeah.
put out a really good product into the
Right.
universe. So yeah, but then I usually type it up the next day.
Yeah. So it sounds like maybe the best flow would be like one recipe a week, or is it take a little bit longer?
No, that would be great. And I think
Okay.
that's a totally doable thing. It's just not happening
Yeah.
yet.
Because there's a lot going on.
Yeah,
And you
there
have a
is.
6-month-old. I mean, like older ones can be, it's probably like have each other a little bit self-sufficient. Like, if you're all kind of around each other, they're around, you're in the kitchen for an hour, like that's probably totally doable. And then the big variable is the 6-month-old.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Who's such a wonderful, easy baby, but it's like, I am sustaining you. You can't
Yes.
depend on anyone else. Yeah, totally.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So a couple of things that we can try to think about is, do you guys have much, like when you are working through your day to day with your kids, is there any type of like flow or schedule that you guys follow? The 6-month-old, does she have like regular naps that you can kind of count on for time?
Yes.
Or, okay, great.
Yes.
Excellent. I think that really a couple of things, like giving ourselves like realistic goals is really key. And we can tell if they're realistic goals if we're really trying everything that we have and it's just like still not coming together. That might be just a little bit too much of a stretch. That is like maybe one recipe a week is entirely too much. And maybe I just need to focus on maybe like, if the goal would be like maybe 3 in a month. So you're kind of have like a week and a half to really make something kind of come together. That would kind of be the first step to really identify like the goals that I have for myself. Are they obtainable right now? Because we know that the season that you're in with your kids, it's just that it is a season. And so we only have this period that we're in right now for a period of time. And that will change. That will change as the youngest gets older, as the bigger kids kind of, like as school kind of resumes as normal and there's like different schedules and flows to go with. So those goals will always change and be flexible. When you don't hit a goal, how does that impact you?
That's a great question. I think, again, I'm in a very unique situation right now where, I am my own boss, I suppose you could say. And so there's no one, thankfully my readers are not saying, Katy, you're not doing enough. Give me more recipes, thank goodness. So it feels like I can kind of keep skating if I want to, but I personally want to do so much more. Right. So I'm grateful that I'm not getting negative feedback externally, but for me, it just, I hold myself to a pretty high standard and I want to do really well. And I don't want to treat it as a hobby. I want to treat it as a job. So when I miss it, I certainly have grace for myself. And I know, my priorities in life. And, the most important thing is taking care of my babies all day long. But I just want to push myself as hard as I can while maintaining some level of homeostasis. I guess is what I would say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think that a strategy to start to think about would be if we aren't currently at a position where we can really focus on this like full time, whatever full time means to you, right?
Sure.
I would focus on really blocking out those periods of time to work on this when you can be full focus.
Yeah.
So where you have undistracted time, where that's maybe during a nap time and the older kids, it's a conversation of just like, mom's going to work on this part of her job right now. You guys have this craft, you have this show you can watch, you have this thing that you can do. While I'm doing this, I'll be right here. And this is my time to do this. You guys could even set a timer for yourselves, right? So
I love that idea. Yep.
You want to really go in and set up successful time chunks where you can have full focus on it so that, you're subconsciously not feeling defeated because you didn't accomplish X, Y, and Z during the kind of pieced together time that you have, right?
Right.
So I would really think about that. I would look at the week and I would just kind of go, okay, what chunks of time, maybe when my husband's home on the weekend or when he comes home from work or during a nap time, that I could schedule out that feels like I have good balance where I could be full focused.
Yeah.
I think that you'll be able to get a lot more accomplished when that happens because there won't be so many distractions. Like that is the framework that we're putting it in. And then I think that will really help the productivity and just help you feel like you are achieving those goals overall, which will just feel better. And then of course, productivity and action, they breed on action and productivity, right? So it just continues to compound on that. So I think that might be a strategy to just think about when are the chunks of time. It can be full focus as much as possible. Obviously, life happens. Like it's not going to be perfect, but that might be the first best place to start to then really help you figure out how does that look like as we navigate into different periods of time with, we're coming up on summer vacations, all of that. If that's just the framework that we're working with, I think that would be the best kind of like boundaries to place within yourself, and then also help keep yourself a little bit accountable since you are your own boss. And sometimes it's just easier to put other things or other priorities
absolutely right
in place, right? And so we think about all the things that we need to do and be for other people. We're going to schedule out time ahead of time that's full focus time on my daily delish, and that's just it. And then of course we do all the other things, like we turn off notifications, we put our phone in another room, whatever the things need to happen, right? To make sure that that is the lens throughout everything that we do, is like, how can I be full focus? That's a question that we ask. We set ourselves up for success that way. Does that need to be in your home or outside of the home? Does that need to be, phone in the other room? Does that need to be maybe husband and the kids go out and I can be in my space? Like, think through like whatever those things would be that you need for success. And then you have a little bit of trial and error and figure out what those things are together as a family, because that's important to you. You want to make sure that it works well for everyone, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So I would try those couple of things and just see how much of a difference that makes. And I bet you that will help you feel a lot better about the time that you do get to spend in working on your blog and on your business.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So then monetization. I wanted to leave the most amount of time to talk about this because there's so many different things that we can go into. So, as you've had some great success with driving traffic to your site, do you know what is the direct cause of all the traffic? Do you know where people are finding you? Is it because you're placing tags within your post? Is it Pinterest? Is it Instagram? Do you kind of know where that traffic is being driven from?
So an interesting thing about all this is just, I have done it all by myself, right? I set up my website. I knew I wanted it to look beautiful and professional, but I didn't want to hire a professional. Thank you. Thank you. When I started this, I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to make this look legit, even if I'm not legit yet, I'm going to make it look like I am.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes. I feel like I've gotten there now. But, so it's kind of been fun to just learn all this on my own. So I can see where I get my traffic from. And Instagram is 1,000,000% the reason that I've had any success at all. It's from people sharing to their stories my daily delish when they post my recipes and they whatever. So I get a ton of traffic from there. I'm so grateful. I do use hashtags, and that'll drive some traffic to my posts, but in general, it's just the organic reach, and people sharing. So I have utilized Pinterest a bit, but again, I haven't put enough effort to really stay consistent with posting to Pinterest. I think I could have a lot of success from there, but currently it's Instagram is my thing. Yeah. Big time.
Which is great. It's good to know what is working really well for you, because what we really want to do is, instead of looking at where we add more, we want to look on where we can go into depth. So how do we utilize Instagram to the maximum of its ability? Currently, right now, hashtags, yes, work really well, especially to be reached by other people. You have a business that can be reached by anybody in the world. And so spending some time to develop a good library for yourself of hashtags, I would really recommend.
Okay.
You want to be able to utilize you have room for 30. So you want to be able to utilize all 30 if you can.
You already taught me something new.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
So what we do for She Leads Me, to make sure that we don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time we post, is we have created a couple of different categories based on what we post. So if we're posting about our business services, we have a series of hashtags already in a Google Doc that we will cut and paste. Perfect. Every couple of months or so, I will go in and kind of refresh. I will do some research. We'll dive in to see which hashtags are working really well for us and which ones aren't. And then we'll kind of, rotate some in and out. And then we have our few staple ones that, yes, go ahead.
You keep. Am I allowed to ask a question?
Of course you are. Yes.
Okay, fun. How can you tell which specific hashtags are doing well and which ones are not? Are you able to see that?
So when you go into your posts, you'll be able to see, oh, that's a great question. And now I need to pull up my Instagram.
Oh, Jesus.
So
sorry.
No, don't be sorry at all.
Learning on the fly.
No, it's perfect. So let me see if I can access here. When I go in, I'll be able to see kind of like the, I can see what's working. I can see if my hashtags are generating, or if people are finding me because of hashtags, right?
Yes.
So when I go in, I can see that.
I can see that on my impressions. I can see how many are from the homepage and how many are from hashtags or how many are from other. I can see that. Perfect. I just can't see which hashtag is doing better than a different one. That's all.
So when you tap on the post in your individual hashtags, you will see there's a top. So when you pull up that hashtag, it will say top posts and then recent posts. If you're hitting in the top posts, you know that hashtag is working really well for you.
Okay.
If you're in the recent, that's just because it's recent, right? So it does take a little bit of digging, but there is a way for you to see how well those are working for you. And we want to have a good mix. So you'll have your standard ones like hashtag my daily delish, hashtag probably your name would be a good one as people get to know who you are behind the brand. There might be a couple of other staple ones that you have specific to you and your brand. And then what we really want to do is we want to have a good mixture of hashtags that are pretty broad and popular, but then the ones that are a little bit more unique and don't have millions of posts attached to them, but have like tens of thousands of posts attached to them, right? So we want to really vary our hashtags to make sure that we have a good mixture of all of that in it.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So going into depth into Instagram, making sure that you have a library built out of yourself. So maybe you have hashtags that are about like kind of the working mom life, right? Because you do post personal stuff as well, right? You have stuff on your Instagram that is that. So I would have one about that. I would have one that's specific to recipes. And then maybe even it's mainly main dishes, right? Is what you're
for the most part. Yep.
Yeah. So
sorry about that.
I mean, you could have different ones that are like, if people are looking for, we kind of look at even like maybe some like trending topics, right? So like now, summer glow up would be like a trendy hashtag. So how can we integrate that in the food world and really pull some of those in so that we can get more reach that way as people are thinking about healthy light recipes for summertime picnics, or just even maybe like health goals because they're body aware of like summertime swimsuits and stuff like that, right? Like there might be some certain things that we pull in or choose to avoid. You have the choice to do that. And then I would also try taking a crack at some live video stuff and some reels.
Yes.
So reels, you've done quite a few reels. Love.
Yeah, I've been working with a local company and doing reels with them, which has been super fun. And I know that reels get, top viewership because it's Instagram's
Yes.
new thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of the stuff, it's kind of tying into our last topic that we were chatting about. Like, I would love to do Instagram lives. Like, I just enjoy that. I'm pretty confident, I would say, pretty confident in
Yeah.
that area. But it's always like, okay, when do I do it? Like, I've wanted to do this for, a year, but it's like, oh, I'll do it next week, or, oh, I'll do this thing now. So I think it really is so much, that might be the thing that I have to schedule. Like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to do a live on this exact, I'm going to make this recipe. My husband's going to take the kids out of the house and I can do it, and that would be fun for me. I think I would really enjoy that. So
yeah, even if you just start with one a month or one every other month, like whatever works well in your flow, right? We also have to keep in mind of your cookbook deadline, because though, if we have only a certain amount of time, that definitely needs to be the priority. But what could we also add in there that would work well? Another idea that you could do, because Instagram is really pushing the remix feature on Reels right now, is you could, since you have such high engagement with people, with your followers that then reshare, you can ask people to remix like your one pot tiki masala and rice reel, and they do it side by side, right? So like the remix is they are doing what you're doing on your video, then they repost it. And remix, I think, would be a great way that you don't even have to create any more content. It's just asking your people that are already loving on you and so excited about what you're putting out there to do that. And that will pick up and generate a lot of buzz with those people, with their followers that haven't maybe seen their stories yet, because Instagram is just pushing reels really hard.
So much, right?
That might be a strategy as well. So
love that.
Really diving into the depth of Instagram, I think, will be really helpful. As you start to kind of work with Pinterest a little bit more, I do think that a Pinterest strategy, even just a couple of different ideas I had for you when I pulled up your Pinterest, would be creating multiple images per recipe and pin it multiple times. So having the food photos that are really beautiful, but then having some of the ones that have some text overlay, have like the recipe title on the images, and just pin like 5 different images, even though they're very similar, on Pinterest to get that type of exposure that you need. So that could be one thing that even if you go back in on the ones that you've already posted, you could do that, and that could generate some traffic for you right there.
Makes sense. Okay. I love that idea. That's a good tangible thing to do.
Yeah. And then as far as other ways to monetize, I think that it would be really beneficial on your website to have an additional page that is has a contact form for partnership. So are you interested in being featured on this blog, whether that's a product line, whether that's somebody wanting to showcase a recipe, or maybe a cookbook that they have, or I don't what kind of partnerships would make sense, but having a page on there where you're also encouraging and having a call to action for people, companies, products to come and engage with you. That way, as we start to drive more and more traffic with all these other things that we're doing, people have a way to contact you very specifically about that. And then with just having that separate page and the SEO that goes along with that, that's really helpful too, as people, product sponsorships, for example, they're searching the internet all day, every day for people, for websites like yours to go feature their products on. So if our page is working with what they're searching for, then that's really key, will be helpful for us.
Okay.
And then I would also just start, I like to call my lists parking lot. Some people call them dump lists, right? But a parking lot, if you will, of all of your favorite brands, or featured, like if you have favorite like food magazines or other food blogs, and just start making a list of people that you can eventually reach out to. I think that outward reach will become a really important part of monetizing your blog. And even if we just start with having a list just to help keep it all organized right now, in the future, then we could layer on creating a, even like a sort of like a one sheet about you, about your blog, so that as you start to reach out to people, we have stuff that we've already created that we can then send out as we're pitching partnerships for different products, articles, things, and features too.
Yeah, the kind of media kit idea, right?
Yeah,
That's what you're talking about? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I've also
So
thought about a lot about that and have not. It's just kind of the theme
well,
of my
there's
life
just
right now.
so much to do. Yeah, there's so much to do. And I really think that, again, like really focusing on going into depth on just a couple of things. And maybe right now the depth is just Instagram and the depth is cookbook. And then the next phase would be, now we're working on creating a media kit. Now we're working on a bunch of outreach and maybe dialing up our Pinterest a little bit more. Kind of think of it as phases and give yourself some grace, because you have a lot going on and you're also accomplishing huge strides in a short amount of time.
Thank you.
That a lot of people have been doing this for, a long time, and they're paying to play, and they have so much outreach going out because they don't have the organic traffic that you've already nailed. So what you're doing is really amazing, and you want to keep doing that. And then we just layer on a couple of things so that it's manageable, it's bite-sized, and that we make sure that we can accomplish all the things and feel good at the end of our days, and instead of feeling like my to-do list was so big and I got through a lot of it, but because I didn't get through the other stuff, I feel like I missed the mark, right? We don't want that to happen. We want it to feel like it's a success each time we go in and we go kind of take a crack at it.
Yeah.
What other questions we just dove into so much so quickly.
Can I have your phone number?
Yes. Absolutely.
No, I just feel like because I think that is kind of where I'm living. Like the cookbook, I'm so excited about it. It is so awesome. And I'm so proud. It's also so much work. And it feels like, how can I do everything all at once? Well, I obviously can't. And I know that, but how can I work a bit smarter to accomplish this stuff? I love what you were talking about phases. Like, hey, right now, if all I focus on is the cookbook and learning more about Instagram, okay, I can do that. That feels more manageable. And then build in these extra pieces as I go through, right? That feels good to me. So good. I'm sure that you have resources on, I think this is the other part, is if I Google, learning about Instagram hashtags, there's still so much that it can feel like, I don't even know what to read, right? Like there's, so I guess I just won't today,
Yeah.
So I think I definitely would love some resources if you have them on how, where to start.
Absolutely. I'll send you a couple of, I was actually just talking about this yesterday with a one-on-one client, where there's so much information out there. It's just like you just said, it's like, okay, I'm shutting down because there's like way too much for me to consume.
Yeah.
So what I really like to do is I like to pick one or two specialists in the area that I'm trying to learn about. So I'm not inundated by maybe a dozen different people's thoughts on how I do hashtags correctly. Right. So I'll send you a couple of different profiles of people that I think would be good to take a look at and see if you resonate with them. You really want to resonate with the people. You want to make sure that they're building business that's similar to something that resonates with you, because we don't want to just do things because someone said that we should.
Right.
We want it to feel like it's working for us and with us, and not like not like it's off brand for you. Right.
Totally.
So I'll send you a couple of resources and you can kind of check them out. The other nice thing about Instagram is that, when you click on somebody's profile and there's like that little arrow thing that you can click down on, it will show you a bunch of different other profiles that are similar to that person's profile, right? So let's say I'm on a social media experts page and I click and I'm like, okay, some of this is good information, but there's just something about this person I'm not necessarily resonating with.
Sure.
Who else is out there? Instead of kind of going back to the search tab and starting over, I can then hit that arrow down and see a bunch of different profiles that will pop up, so I can look through that way a lot quicker and see if there's somebody that resonates with me just a little bit better. So
right.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay.
Absolutely. Great. Any other questions before we hop off?
No, I mean, I think that is you gave me a lot to think about, which I'm grateful for, and just kind of reignited that fire of like,
Good.
I think you're so right. Like just as a mom, and I know that I've told my husband, if I could just sit for an hour uninterrupted, the things I could do, right? Like it's just about finding that. It's just about finding that time and making it, and just capitalizing, which, so that's my big starting point.
That full focus time. And
I love
think
that.
a lot will open up for you. And then once, you find that momentum and that stride and really get into a good routine with that, then the rest of it will come a lot easier. And it's just anytime we do something that's a little bit new, there's just a pattern and a flow that we have to find within that. And that can take a little bit of time, but that's why we don't want to pile on too many new things at once, because then it's almost impossible to find the flow of all of those things all at the same time, right?
Absolutely. Right. So, right.
Let's share with our listeners where they can find you online. We've mentioned Instagram, Pinterest, and your blog. Will you share those handles in your website, please?
Yeah. So my website is www.mydailydelish.com. And my Instagram is @mydailydelish. You can find me there. I post on Instagram quite a bit, and all of my recipes can be found on my website. And I would love to have you come join the party. It's pretty fun.
Hi, Lynsey. Welcome. It's good to see you.
Great to see you too, Heather. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for volunteering to be part of this. I've loved working with you. I'm so excited for our business consults today, and just to have, just to be able to record the conversation and have other people hear you talk about your business, what you've built thus far, where you've come from in building a new business, and then where you're wanting to go and how we can help bridge the gap, just to kind of check in and get you there. So thanks for doing all of that. Before we dive into your business, would you just take a moment to share with people about what you do and how you help serve your customers?
Absolutely. So I'm a home loan officer with Umpqua Bank. So I specialize in mortgages pretty much of all types. There isn't much that we don't do. So basically, my goal is to meet with people on whatever level they're at, whether they're first-time home buyers, looking to invest, looking for a second home, whatever it might be, and just have a conversation with them to understand their goals, their needs, and then how I can kind of pair them with a mortgage product that works well for their situation. And that's very different for everyone. So that's why I like to really have an in-depth conversation with my clients and really kind of understand where they're coming from and what they're looking to do, so that I can really help give them a lot of good advice and insight as to what options are available to them and what they can do moving forward.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you've been doing that and doing it so well and crushing the goals that you've been set. You've had a really great, strong start to your transition into the mortgage world, right? So it's been going really well. I'm so excited for you. You also, just because you just mentioned, you help people purchase in 13 different states, right?
Correct. Yeah. So
Awesome.
We're a regional bank. So we cover pretty much all of the West Coast. So Alaska, all the way down to California, out to Hawaii, Wyoming, Colorado, Nevada, Arizona. I'm probably forgetting some, but Utah. Yeah. So basically the whole Western side.
Great. That's awesome. Yeah. So let's talk about your business. So how have things been going? Where are you at? Tell us some of the things that are working. Let's start with what's working really well in business right now.
So right now I have some really awesome real estate partners, one of whom you helped connect me with last year, which was amazing. So, that's been going well. I feel really good about the relationships that I've been able to form so far with my partners here locally. And also I've actually expanded to some relationships down in California where I used to live. Great. So that's been wonderful. Rolling into year 2 with Umpqua, I was interested to see, my first kind of slow season in the winter and kind of see how that would go. And it's actually been pretty good, which has been a pleasant surprise. But, as a business owner, you're constantly kind of chasing that carrot and you have to always be thinking ahead. And so, part of what you and I have discussed a lot and what I continually focus on is just kind of finding that balance. understanding, good customer service while managing the clients that I do have now, but also thinking about, what's coming down the pike and, how can I continue to better myself? What things can I be doing to better myself for my clients? And just kind of figuring out, what's next for me and what does the future look like?
Awesome. What would be the things that you would say that are maybe some pain points in business right now, or that aren't working very well in your business as it stands today?
I think the biggest thing, and part of what I had kind of brought up to you earlier, was just reminding myself that I am enough, that I am, I have the knowledge, I have the products, I have the customer service, that I have all of these things. I think it's hard sometimes to get bogged down and you kind of go through the motions of the everyday. But, if something doesn't go right, which very often can happen in the mortgage world, things come on and things can easily fall off. And so just reminding myself that, I kind of getting the doubts out of my head that constantly kind of creep in and make me kind of drag myself down to a place where I shouldn't be. And just kind of reminding myself that, that negative self-talk is not necessary, and kind of recentering myself, because none of that helps me move forward. It certainly doesn't help me on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. When you find yourself kind of going down that road a little bit, you catch that like inner voice that's like being not what you need to be. Is there anything that you found that's really helped you kind of snap out of that? Or is that still something that you're looking to?
So a little bit of both. I tend to reach out to other people in the business, other relationships that I have in both the mortgage and real estate world, just to get a little bit of perspective. But I definitely still need to do some work, in realizing that I am enough, and, the things that I can kind of tell myself on the daily to hopefully keep myself out of those situations. And, things will creep in as they do, but, I want to build a bit of a stronger foundation and belief in myself moving forward. I think that will only serve me and my clients.
Yeah. And you're in a tough industry and a tough market. So that's an added hurdle right now, on top of just the normalcy of that voice playing in so many people's heads when they're building something, when they're looking for, like you mentioned, that next carrot, right? Like when we're constantly doing the self-evaluation and we want to grow as humans, we want to grow as business professionals, we want to always be doing better. On top of that, you are in a very intense marketplace and intense position in your job where you're trying to help people accomplish something that can feel so disheartening right now for so many, with, at least in our marketplace, I know it's happening in a lot of places, but 5, 10, 15 offers per house, like going over, like there doesn't seem to be any type of pricing strategy. It's just like, it's the wild, wild west with no rules. So you are amazing. I am hoping you're giving yourself so much grace, because that is a very heavy thing to have to go to bed with every single night, when there are so many people relying on you and their realtor to help them get a home.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
No, absolutely. No, you nailed it. I mean, this is probably the biggest purchase of most people's lives. And, there's definitely a lot of responsibility that comes with that. And, I don't think I give myself enough grace, for sure.
Yes.
That's something else I definitely need to be better about, but working on it.
Yeah. Even sometimes I'll rotate through like different affirmations of like on my mirror or something, right? Where I'm like, okay, right now I just need to really focus on like, I have the strength to get through this, right? Or I am a qualified person to be helping people with their problems, or whatever the affirmation might be, right? Like sometimes those simple, like sticky note affirmations just really make a big difference for people in their lives. So let's talk about your business, like organization and systems. Where because sometimes when we're feeling the overwhelm, which then also equates to the negative self-talk, sometimes we can kind of pinpoint some other areas that we can strengthen that helps build that confidence, which helps quiet that voice a little bit. So let's talk about how you just feel on a day-to-day in your business, aside from the crazy market, aside from maybe sometimes you guys are outbid and there's, you win some, you lose some. What about in the day-to-day, just like the flow, the intake of clients, the systems? Talk to me a little bit about your day-to-day.
So every day is definitely different. You and I have talked a lot about, calendaring things out, which I've definitely gotten a lot better about, kind of putting time frame around my working hours versus my personal time. That certainly helps too. And I'm planning far enough ahead to make sure that I'm calendaring out, my time, vacation time, special stuff for clients, all that. So that is definitely a huge bonus and something that has really kind of helped me not feel so frantic this year versus last year. I think last year was kind of a free for all, and I was just with COVID and everything else going on, it was, throw myself into work, and work literally took over my life. And I'm grateful for the opportunity and having a job and all of that. But I think this year my focus is just, being better about utilizing my time correctly, and also giving myself some me time too, and building that in. So, I'm pretty good about prioritizing my day. Starting off in the morning with the most important things. And I usually use my first couple hours in the morning to handle those tasks. So I like to kind of get in and get rolling on stuff before the rest of the world kind of wakes up. Everyone in the company kind of works, different hours and has different, our support staff are pretty, 9 to 5. And, loan officers, we have a bit more flexibility. Underwriters kind of have a little bit more flexibility, and we all work as a team. So, my goal is to kind of start off on the right foot in the morning and just make sure that I'm setting the pace for the day, reaching out to people and kind of being proactive, and getting things going before I start the reactive work.
Excellent.
And then I take a little bit of time in the afternoon for myself. I try to take a break and actually eat lunch while I'm not working, and go for a walk, get some time with my dog, which is important.
Yes.
And then usually the afternoon is kind of more reactive, emails, finishing up on maybe some stuff I started in the morning, looking for new business. Every day kind of has a little bit of everything. I have to constantly be doing that in order to keep the ball rolling. Conversations I'm having now might not come to fruition for, another month or two, or maybe 6 months down the road. You just never know when the opportunity is going to actually, pan out and turn into, real business.
Yeah. So it sounds like a lot of your foundational stuff, like there's, always things that come up during the day that could throw off anybody's schedule. But it sounds like for the most part, a lot of your foundational stuff feels pretty manageable, and you're getting a good balance of work and life. And would you say that you feel that way every single day? Like you feel pretty good about how business operations and kind of life operations are going?
For the most part, yeah. I think that there's definitely days where something comes in unexpectedly that kind of sidetracks me from my goals. And I think that that's part of what I'm trying to get better at as well, is just making sure that those hiccups, because they happen all the time, are not something that derails the whole rest of my plan. That's not useful at all to me. And, in the rest of the day, I mean, if I lose a half a day, that's a lot of time to be productive and, turn things around. So I think that that's part of it as well.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if we're at a place in business where, and a lot of that is like pretty normal, right? Where like things will come up, like we just have to figure out like how we continuously make sure that we're keeping the eye on the bigger prize, not get too hung up on things. I wonder if we're at a place where having some type of consistent support, even if it's like, hey, you know what I want to do? I want to gather a couple of people from different industries, let's say, or just a couple of friends, and just read a book a month and we just talk about it, or like something where you plug into a continuous source of support that helps with the negative self-talk. It just helps build up that confidence, and in a way where you're not doing it just on your own.
Yeah.
So that looks like a lot of different things to people. That looks like some type of easy book club. That looks like some type of mastermind group. That could look like one-on-one coaching pretty regularly. That could look like just attending specific networking events, or just kind of plugging into those people, those types of groups. Now that the world is reopening a little bit more, those opportunities are coming into play. But I think building that sense of community, because you've been doing this just purely from home from the beginning, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
I worked down in San Diego in the same industry, but
yeah,
since I moved up here and started with Umpqua, I had about a month and a half in the office, and then
right.
it was goodbye. And so, everything has
Yeah.
basically been me and my four walls and
Mhm.
figuring stuff out. So,
And that's a lot of time for us to get into our own heads when we're not around other people, when we don't have even other just like white noise going on that just kind of helps quiet that voice that can creep in. And so I think that that would be a really great next step for you and for your business to really help keep that quiet, build that solid foundation that you're talking about building just in your own like just stance, and just in having that peace every single day, that I think would give a lot to your life and to your business, in that sense. And even if that's you just connect with people on Zoom on your own, right? Like it doesn't have to be like, oh, there's this perfect thing that's already out there and created. You could start something, you don't have to. You could easily join something. There doesn't need to be a lot of effort, but I just wonder if that type of, especially outside industry peer group that are people that, like raising my hand here, like we all have that voice, right? Where it's just that voice can come up so often. And I know for me, there's a couple of us that we're all in varying different industries, and we just start off Mondays with just an 8 a.m. like, hey, how are you? Like, let's just do like a check-in Zoom call. Sometimes we read a book and we talk about it. Sometimes we just have conversation. And we started that post-COVID, I believe. So it's probably been about a year that we've been doing that. And it's just been a really good grounding thing, that even if we're just talking about like today's topic was whatever, the Rachel Hollis scandal, and like what we thought about like her different comments, and which kind of ties into some heavier pieces around like racism and that type of stuff, right? But just this grounding sense of having community, talking about all the things. It's a trusted, safe circle, and nobody has to be responsible for preparing for anything other than one of us has to host the Zoom, right? What do you think about that? Do you think that that would be something that would be helpful for you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think I'm doing pieces of that, like the nurse retreat last year. That was a great mix of women from different businesses. And that was so helpful to sit there and just hear everyone else, all the daily struggles, things that they go through, their mindsets. And it really clicked. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, I'm not the only one who feels this way. And and people that on the outside, I was like, wow, I thought, like you quote unquote had it all together, and they do. It's just that they still go through the same stuff that I do.
Yes.
We just don't get a chance to talk about it. And so, I mean, I think you're 100% right with the way that COVID has, shifted our work structure. And then on top of that, just me sitting and, by myself with my own thoughts. It's hard to know, like, is what I'm feeling normal, or other people going through this, or, it becomes a big woe is me, and, you down spiral pretty quickly when you're the only one in the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And our partners or our family or the people that are around us, right? Like on the day to day can only meet us so far in that journey as well, because they have their own lives. And most entrepreneurs or business owners aren't with other entrepreneurs or business owners, right? So there's also this just a difference of an understanding of the impact of what that means on a day-to-day basis, where, connecting with just even more regularly, and you're doing all the right things. I mean, yeah, attending Nourish Retreat, like so good, like making sure that you're growing and you're constantly just like looking ahead at your calendar, planning things accordingly, like making sure that you're finding that balance. Like all of those things are so great. And you're so far ahead of the game in that sense, because a lot of people even like that's still a struggle. And just to kind of tie it all together, having that piece, I think would be really key. And then the other thing could be maybe now is the time to also look at, is there a skill that you're wanting to learn? Is there a new program or thing that you're wanting to create? Like, is now the time to invest in like maybe some type of course to learn something new, or read a book to learn about email marketing, or to, you already know, I was about to say like, or sign up and like get to learn Spanish. You already know Spanish. But things like that, where now would also be a good time to think about, okay, like where can I also, like my brain clearly has energy to work with. It's trying to do something with this extra time that it has subconsciously. So can I fill that with something creative, as far as like, is there something that I can create in my business for clients that would be helpful to them? Is it time for me to bring on a book or something, or learn something new? Give that brain something to work with and chew on, aside from just the space of, I'm doing my things every single day. I'm doing my job that I know how to do. And in the background, it's just kind of circling on whatever's available, which right now is self-doubt, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that those things would be, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I actually have kind of started down that path. So I connected with Amanda, who you guys connected me with as well,
Excellent.
and starting on some marketing stuff and putting together some new informational packets
Yay.
for first-time home buyers and stuff. So I have kind of started down there because that's something that I have been wanting to do for a long time. And it's definitely not my area of expertise. So I, obviously partnered with someone who is really good at that and can help, kind of guide me and lay a step by step. So, yeah, you're definitely on the right path with that one too. I am working on that too. And we're actually going to set up something again for later this week to kind of chat more about that stuff. So yeah,
that's great.
Definitely been super helpful too. Just adding another element and something that I'm, it's just not my jam, but it's important.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oh, that's so awesome.
yeah.
And I think layering to some level of, even I think email marketing would be really great for your business as well.
Yeah.
It's some people aren't very excited about it. They're like, oh, that sounds so blah. But email marketing is like the most effective way that businesses generate ongoing business. They generate revenue, which is what we need to stay in business, right? And it stays in touch with your, you can segregate them into however many different types of groups, like past clients, current clients, future clients, whatever that might be. But it's a great way to also, so we have Amanda working on some marketing pieces. Great. We pitched the idea. We now have the specialists kind of working on that. Now, if we give our brain something else to chew on of like, okay, what are the different ways that I really want to stay connected to some of my people, beyond just the, hey, it's been 30 days since your loan closed. Like, how's everything going? Do you have any questions for me? What are some of those value add pieces? Like, what would you want to receive as a consumer? How do you want people to feel when they're interacting with you, when they're hearing from you? And then we can do the same thing, right? Like we did with Amanda, where it's like, we at least map out, what does that communication look like? How frequently are we sending it? And then we can employ the help from the right people to get those things off and running as well. So maybe that is also a project that builds business sustainability. It provides value, which I know is like you're all about when you're thinking about your clients. And there could be even some educational things in there that, you create, which I know has also been an important thing for you and something that we've talked about before as well. So that might be, now that the other project is kind of underway and in somebody else's hands, that might also be another one that you could add on and layer in amongst all the things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's a great idea. I think a lot of those touches, not like every so often, just reminding people, hey, I'm here if you have questions or need anything. And 'cause that's important to me that, clients know that, they, after we fund the loan, our relationship's not over. I don't just stop and, I'm never going to answer your emails again. I'm really big on, we keep our loans, we service them. And I really like that because that means that clients can call me and I can answer their questions and I can be their person. And I think that's a really awesome value add that we have and something that's really important to me too. So
yeah, agreed. So good. Excellent. Are there any other questions? I can't believe our time is already like nearing to the end. Just like dove right in.
Like, what?
I know. What other questions do you have? Is there anything else that you just want to ask about? You want to lean into? What else can I help you with today before you start making some moves, finding a group to connect with and doing all those things?
I think, I guess maybe just like any books or anything that you've read lately that kind of maybe inspired you that I could start off with. I mean, I know we got a couple books, with the She Ignites conference.
Yes.
I know it's definitely on my list. But aside from those, I'm just curious if you have anything that you've kind of read that's really kind of helped with some of the issues that I've discussed today.
Yeah. I love both of the books that you got from the conference when it comes to the overcoming some self-doubt, because definitely, those are both story-based books. So about their rise to their success and overcoming their own doubts, and then maybe even some people outside of their own doubts that were doubting them in front of their face, right? Some other like tactical ones that are like helpful just have you read Atomic Habits?
No, I have not.
Atomic Habits is great for how do I be more efficient? How do I layer in better habits? How do I kind of accomplish X, Y, and Z? Like kind of more of an analytical approach to the day. The other one that's a mindset piece that really was, I can't pinpoint why it was so helpful for me, but the book, The Go-Giver, has been really just, it felt, man, I'm kind of at a loss for words of like how to describe it, but it isn't a book that is like somebody's story. So it's not like how I went from here to here. It isn't a book that is like Atomic Habits where it's here's how you become more organized and structured and blah, 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 blah. It's a fictional story about mentorship, giving back, kind of that building of that community like we were talking about. And it's got a lot of really great values and principles that are layered in that I feel like should be are a good consideration for all of us to think about layering into our business life. Who are the types of people that we have in our lives? Who are our mentors? Who is helping guiding us? And so I think that one would be a good resource as well. So you have the 2 from the conference, and then there's 2 more.
So summertime is kind of like my season of reading. So
yeah.
I'll definitely add these to the list.
Yeah, those are all really good ones. So there you go. Well, Lynsey, thanks for your time today. It was so great to have you here. For those that are listening and want to connect with you, where's the best place for them to go check you out, to go connect, to even learn more about if they're thinking about a refi or a purchase and would like to have some help from you? Where should they go?
Couple different ways. If you want to look for me on Facebook, you can just search my name, Lynsey Riemer. It's LYNDSEYREIMER. Or you can shoot me an email. It's just lynseyreimer@umpquabank.com. Either way is a great way to get in touch with me. And then I usually get back to people pretty quickly, and I can provide the rest of my contact info, and we can kind of go from there.
Perfect. Excellent. Well, thanks for allowing us to record this conversation today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. This is great. I love it.